For years, fans have waited. They speculated, they guessed, they pieced together fragments from interviews, blurry photos, and cryptic social media posts. But through it all, Yaman remained silent. Until now. At last, the moment has come. Yaman has broken his silence, and the truths he revealed are shaking everyone to their core. The Turkish heartthrob, admired across Europe and especially adored in Italy, has always been careful with his words. He kept his emotions hidden, his private life locked away behind a curtain of mystery. Every time the media pressed him about Demet Özdemir or Sarah Bluma, he smiled politely, deflected the question, and walked away. His silence only made the rumors grow stronger. Fans whispered, did he ever really love Demet? Was Sarah just a distraction? What happened that night in the hotel? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, who does Can truly love? On a live television program under the bright lights and in front of millions watching, he finally decided to answer. The host looked him straight in the eyes and asked the question that had been burning in everyone's mind, Can, why did you remain silent for so long? Can lowered his gaze, took a deep breath, and his voice trembled slightly as he responded, because sometimes silence speaks louder than words. But tonight, I cannot stay silent anymore. You deserve the truth. The studio fell into complete silence. The audience, the cameras, even the host, all seemed frozen in time, waiting for what would come next. Can's eyes glistened, not just with the reflection of the studio lights, but with emotions he could no longer hide. For the first time, fans saw not the invincible star, not the confident leading man, but a vulnerable soul carrying years of untold stories. He spoke about mistakes, about regrets, about the pain of watching love slip away. He admitted to hiding too much, to protecting people from the truth, even when it hurt him. His words weren't rehearsed or polished, they poured out raw, unfiltered, and painfully honest. Yes, I've made mistakes, he confessed. Yes, I've hurt people I cared about. But nothing was ever as simple as it looked from the outside. Those words struck like lightning. Fans on social media exploded with reactions. Tweets poured in every second, I'm crying, Can is finally telling the truth. This changes everything. Demet must be watching this right now. The live audience couldn't hold back their emotions either. Some clutched their chests, others wiped away tears, because they knew this wasn't just another celebrity interview. This was a confession, a turning point, the moment the wall between Yaman and his fans crumbled. And as he continued, the questions only grew more intense. What about Demet Özdemir? What about Sarah Bluma? What about the love triangle that had fueled headlines for years? Can didn't flinch. He promised answers. And with every word, it became clear, nothing would ever be the same again. The second question hit harder. The host leaned forward and asked what millions had been waiting to hear. Can, tell us about Demet Özdemir. Was your love real? Was it just for the cameras, or was it something more? The room seemed to shrink. For a brief moment, Can's jaw tightened, his lips pressed together as if he was holding back a flood of memories. Then, with a deep sigh, he finally let it out, it was real. Every smile, every look, every moment with Demet was real. Those words sent shockwaves across the audience. For years, people had argued whether their on-screen chemistry in Erkenci Kuss had spilled into real life. Some insisted it was only acting, others swore they saw the truth in their eyes. And now, straight from Can's lips, the confirmation was undeniable. He had loved her. And maybe, deep down, he still did. Social media erupted instantly. Fans clipped the moment and posted it everywhere. Can finally admits it. This is what we always knew. The hashtag #CanDemet started trending worldwide within minutes. In Italy, Turkey, Spain, even the United States, people couldn't stop talking about it. But Can wasn't done. His voice grew heavier as he continued, we were young, we were overwhelmed, and everything around us was too big, too fast. The pressure, the cameras, the constant attention, it destroyed us. We couldn't breathe. And in the middle of it all, I made choices that hurt her. The confession silenced even the harshest critics. He wasn't blaming the media, nor was he blaming Demet. He was admitting his faults, his weaknesses. Fans who had been angry with him for years suddenly felt compassion. They saw a man who wasn't hiding anymore, a man brave enough to face his mistakes under the harshest spotlight. Then came the inevitable question about Sarah Bluma. The host asked carefully, "And Sarah? Many say she came into your life as you tried to move on from Demet. What was the truth behind that?" Can's eyes darkened. He paused for a long moment, his hands clasped together tightly, before answering, "Sarah was a part of my life at a time when I was trying to heal. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. I wanted to move on, I wanted to convince myself that I was ready, but the truth is, you cannot replace one love with another." Those words cut deep, not just for Sarah, but for anyone who had ever tried to bury heartbreak by running into someone else's arms. The honesty in his tone made it impossible to doubt him. He wasn't trying to paint Sarah as a mistake, but he admitted she was never the cure to a wound that hadn't closed. The studio gasped again, and the whispers began. Was he still talking about Demet? Was this his way of saying that his heart never truly left her? The tension grew with every passing second, because everyone knew the next question would change everything. The host, sensing the storm building, didn't hesitate. She leaned closer, her voice sharp. "So Ken, if you had the chance right now, if Demet were here, what would you say to her?" The question hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Yaman's lips parted, but no words came at first. His chest rose and fell with a heavy breath, his eyes searching the audience as though he could see Demet among them. Then, slowly, he spoke. His voice was soft, trembling, and every syllable carried the weight of years unsaid. "I would tell her. I never stopped caring. I would tell her I'm sorry. Sorry for the nights I chose silence when she needed answers. Sorry for the times I walked away when I should have stayed. And most of all, sorry for letting her believe she wasn't enough. Because she always was." The audience gasped. Tears glistened in the eyes of people who had never even met him, yet they felt his pain. In living rooms across the world, fans clutched their hearts, whispering to themselves, "He still loves her." The host, stunned by the raw emotion, gave him a moment before asking again, "Ken, do you still love Demet?" That was the question everyone needed, to hear answered. And this time, Ken didn't hide. He looked straight into the camera, his eyes sharp yet filled with sorrow, and said, "Love doesn't disappear. It changes shape, it hides, it hurts, but it doesn't vanish. So yes. In my own way, I never stopped." The studio exploded in murmurs. Some clapped, some covered their mouths in shock, others wiped their tears. Social media completely melted down. Within minutes, hashtags like #CanDemetForever and #CanYamanTruth were trending #1 worldwide. Clips of his confession spread like wildfire, accumulating millions of views in less than an hour. But as emotional as his words were, they also opened new wounds. For Sarah Bluma, who had once believed she had his full heart, these revelations must have cut deeply. And fans knew it. Many posted, "Poor Sarah, hearing this must be heartbreaking." Others argued, "She always knew Ken could never forget Demet." The love triangle that had dominated tabloids suddenly became more real than ever before. Ken himself seemed aware of this storm. He pressed his palms together and whispered, "I know I've hurt people. Sarah included. I never wanted to play with anyone's feelings. But sometimes, when your heart belongs elsewhere, no matter how far you run, it pulls you back." The honesty stunned even the host, who admitted later that she had never seen a celebrity bare their soul so completely on live television. There were no rehearsed lines, no safe answers. Just a man confessing truths he had buried for years. By the end of the segment, the atmosphere in the studio was electric, heavy with emotion and suspense. Everyone sensed that one final revelation was still to come. The question wasn't just about Demet, or Sarah, or the past. The real question was, what now? Would Yaman try to rebuild what was lost with Demet? Would he close the door forever? Or would he leave his fans, and the women at the center of his story, in an even deeper mystery? As the camera zoomed closer to his face, the host delivered the final question of the night. Can, what is the one truth you've never told anyone before, until now? The world froze, waiting for his answer. Yaman leaned back in his chair, his hands trembling slightly. For a long moment, he said nothing. The silence was deafening. You could hear the audience shifting in their seats, the faint hum of the cameras, even the nervous breath of the host waiting for his answer. And then, he spoke. The truth, he repeated softly. The truth is, I still replay that night in my head. The night Demet called me, and I didn't answer. Gasps filled the studio. The audience couldn't believe what they were hearing. Fans had always speculated about that infamous call. Rumors swirled that Demet had reached out to him one last time before their breakup, a desperate attempt to save what they had. Until now, no one knew what really happened. Can's voice broke as he continued, she called me because she needed me. And I was too proud, too angry, too lost in my own world to pick up the phone. That was the biggest mistake of my life. If I had answered, maybe everything would be different today. The confession cut through the room like a blade. Tears streamed down the faces of audience members. On social media, millions typed furiously, he finally admitted it. That call could have changed everything. Demet must be crying right now. For the first time, Yaman was no longer the untouchable star. He was just a man, broken by regrets, haunted by a single choice that altered his destiny. His words carried the weight of every fan's suspicions, every whispered rumor, every sleepless night spent wondering what could have been. The host, visibly shaken, whispered, so if Demet is watching this now, what would you want to tell her? Can's eyes filled with tears. He leaned toward the camera as though speaking directly to her. I would tell her. I never stopped loving you. Even when I tried to move on, even when I convinced myself I was done, my heart never let go. If you're watching this, Demet, know that you were always the truth I couldn't admit. The studio erupted in applause, gasps, and sobs. Viewers at home sat frozen, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Fans worldwide flooded the internet with reactions. This is the biggest confession of his career. Yaman's silence is finally broken, and it's all about Demet. Sarah must be devastated right now. By the end of the program, one thing was clear, this was not just another celebrity interview. This was a turning point, a raw and unfiltered confession that would change how the world saw Yaman forever. He had given the answers, revealed the truths, and opened his heart in a way no one expected. As the credits rolled and the lights dimmed, one question still lingered in the air. Was this the beginning of a new chapter for Can and Demet? Or was it simply the final page of a love story that would forever remain unfinished? Either way, one truth could no longer be denied, Yaman's silence was over. And nothing would ever be the same again.